Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for Friday, May 26th, 2023. Happy Memorial Day weekend. We got our weekly Three Men in a Box talking some college bases, and if you've been following Quentin Mills and Matt Grissom all week, their timeline's been blowing up. Games around the clock, big wins, tough losses. Yes, the Huskies. We won't talk about the Huskies and their performance, but we're already in the dance. We're trying to let another Big East team embrace the moment. So we didn't want anyone to, cut us out and feel like we're being selfish because we are the NCAA men's basketball champs. So let's bring another team to the party. But we're blessed and honored to have the two stars of the show, the one and only Mr. Quentin Mills and Mr. Matt Grissom. What is up, gentlemen?
Good. What's up, Jeff?
I'm just looking over this beautiful Las Vegas skyline out here.
I was going to start the show by saying, Mr. Grissom at the Circa in the vice presidential suite. And myself and Q were just sitting back home like saying, wow, must be nice. So fill us in. You came in last night. How is Vegas treating you?
A little rough at the tables and slots, but overall, I think I'm 3-0 now with Clemson just cashing in college baseball bets against Jeff Davis down there, setting those lines. I told him on Twitter this was going to be fun trying to beat his number. He hangs some really sharp numbers. I mean, we saw it in the totals that he hung a few weeks ago with the futures tickets. We had Wake Forest much lower than DraftKings was hanging that line. And then they posted it, and they were right there neck and neck with LSU. So we think a lot alike. I've really enjoyed kind of jarring back and forth with him. He's very smart when it comes to college baseball, but he's also getting into the pitching matchups, tweeting. He shares our frustration we've had all season long with why aren't these coaches announcing a pitcher? I mean, it is the most frustrating thing. You're getting down to 20 minutes before the game starts. And the lines, they can't adjust them because they don't know who's starting.
And listen, the MLB every night, we get the quote unquote listed pitchers, but we know stuff can happen overnight. And as you guys have been talking all season long, it's, I don't want to throw this word out there, but gamesmanship, it does help the opposing team to know, hey, we're getting ready for, this ace, and then they wheel out the the midweek guy, and we'll really show them, and vice versa. So for these guys in the risk rooms to create these lines, to create these totals. Now the start of the year, DraftKings, no problem laying, not starting pitching, but opening lines and under overs. They quickly started pulling that back as the season progressed. Q, what do we do as not you, but the general people? How it's not fair for the general person that wants to get involved in college bases when you're not getting enough information.
Yeah, that's tough to deal with. I mean, the best advice I can tell you is you just have to stay on Twitter. If you have somebody that's kind of in the know, whether it's a social media world or a radio world or within that team, use those guys to your advantage. And, it might come off as you kind of blowing them up, but to Matt saying, and to your point, we don't find out until roughly an hour before the game. So to be able to figure it out within an hour, put a bet in, and then like for us to try to post it, it's very tight window for people to either take our picks or to take our knowledge, and listen to what we have to say, then figure out what they want to do with it, and then make a play based on that. I agree. I think they need to have something where it's more tailored to the MLB side of things, where they have to at least put a listed pitcher or a probable. Like you said, we understand that things can happen. I understand why they don't. It's the same thing with hockey. They kind of do the upper body injury or the lower. They don't want to give anything away. But it is unfortunate, especially in college baseball, where we're trying to, grow this game, but we're trying to grow it on such limited and information. It's tough. I mean, the best thing I can do is stay on my feed, stay on your feed, Jeff, Grissom tweets, and then NCAA insiders, because really we're going to figure it out probably faster or just as fast as you. We're going to get it out and try to get you our best opinion based off of that. You just have to bear with us.
Shout out to Mr. Smooth, Mr. Sean Alvarez, who I think met Mr. Grissom last night. I'm not going to get into the details. I did see a potential dinner at some point last night, and he basically says getting the day started to go meet Mr. Grissom later today. Maddie, you talked about Mr. Davis. You talked about him in that risk room. When it comes like college football, NFL football, they use the sharps to set the lines. They give them that 15, 20-minute window to, here's the lines, go at it with, $1,000, $2,000 limits before they open it up to public. Don't you think moving forward that someone like Mr. Davis would want you guys, with your insights, with your sharper numbers, to be almost like working together?
Yeah, I've got a guy that followed me because of the college baseball picks, and he's actually in town at Circa, and he texted me this morning and said, I can get Clemson minus 160 at Circa. Do you like it? And I said, I love that number. I'm about to bet it too. By the time he bet it, and he sent me his ticket, he bet 320 to win 200. And the line had moved to 180. So 20 cents, I had to lay more off my pick, but I wasn't quick enough to get on it. And Jeff Benson, I think, was kind of jawing at me on Twitter last night about I needed to go to bed because college baseball started early in the morning. I should have been down there. I should have been the first one to bet these college baseball lines when they got hung, but it is what it is. We're going to try to make money elsewhere.
Jeff, just to finish that point, it seems like the sharp money isn't what it is in the NFL and college football, where it's thousands of dollars. It's hundreds of dollars. So it's really kind of tough to, like Matt was saying, you lose, 20 cents on a line on a $300 bet. So you really have to be on it. It's the playing field. The money's just not there like it is on the bigger sports. We hope it gets there one day, but lines are quick in college baseball. So you got to be on them.
No, and that's a perfect point where it doesn't, in a football game, a college, NFL, it takes thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to move it a half point. In college baseball, one of these sports that they're not getting a lot of action, it might have just taken $3, $5, meaning 300, 500, just to say, all right, we know they're going to be following Clemson today. Yeah, we hung a number a little too low. We didn't get any BC money. So, boom, we're taking it from 160 to 180. And by the time Matt gets out of bed and puts gel in his hair and gets down to the window, it's up to 210 or 220.
Priorities.
Do you really think I didn't place that bet laying in bed? Come on, Jeff. I was still into that pillow while I was betting with one eye open.
Thank God for that app. Yes, we do know that. Joe, why walk down when we can just hit that app? One of the greatest apps ever created.
So last night we had two crazy games that ended. Nebraska and Maryland was in a rain delay for like 3 hours, tied 1-1. And Maryland ended up winning in extras. That was a fun game to watch. Derek turned that back on because I guess the people that were running the content downstairs, they didn't know that game was back on. So that was a whole thing in and of itself. But then we got a Texas Tech walk-off winner. They came roaring back on Oklahoma, and what was the other one? Oregon. Oregon upset Stanford in extra innings as well. But I was looking around and talking to Derek. We were talking about just like how crazy it would be if you could get live lines on college baseball because the inconsistencies with these teams' bullpens. And one of the guys that were standing there talking, he said they have them at Boyd. And I downloaded the Boyd app and I'm sitting there looking at these live lines. And at one point, Texas Tech was down, I think 3 runs. It was 6-9 maybe. And you could get them plus 550. And you could get Oregon, who was down 6-3 to Stanford. You could have gotten them plus 1,100 live. Wow. And they both came back. Now, being that it's Boyd, you could have probably gotten down $3.85 on it, but it is what it is. At least it's offered. It's an interesting market now to look at. Like I'm going to be on that app all day long, just checking what the live odds are.
Quentin, we do our show every week, so take us back from last Friday, leading up to. We'll start at the weekend. How was your weekend? What'd you see? What surprised you? Who were the duds? And then who, came out smelling like roses?
I think I was pretty accurate on the Vanderbilt to take Arkansas. I just thought they were more desperate. Matt called it perfectly on your show last Friday. If Florida wins game 1, Kentucky wins game 2, roll Florida for 2 or 3 units, game 3, they'll take care of business, and they obviously did. Jack Caglione had an incredible start, probably the best of his career at Florida to date. We're looking in now, there really wasn't any midweek action. It's been tough this week because you have teams that, and I'll use your team for an example. Last night, they're playing UConn. They actually struggled. UConn actually played Georgetown and actually struggled. They were able to come back and win in their first tournament game. They know they're already in the playoffs. They play Xavier. Now, Xavier is not great, but they're not horrible. They lose that 10-2. Like, you just don't know what the motivation factor is for a team like that, where you look at a team like ECU right now. They're struggling in the tournament, but they're roaring back. They need to host for that team to be successful, in our opinion. So they have to win the tournament. And then you look at some other ones like Florida Atlantic, Washington, what they're doing in the Pac-12 right now. USC obviously should have maybe fought a little harder yesterday, but they needed to win. So it's really hard to tell the motivation factor for these teams. Matt's killing it right now. I probably played a player too much yesterday, trying to scrounge back. So a little smaller card for me today. But look for the teams that don't have automatic into the tournament. Look for the teams that need the automatic qualifiers. And we found some today. Northeastern, I think we're both on Charlotte. I've added Florida Atlantic. All 3 of those teams need to win today. So you got to play that number based on maybe not a stat, but a motivation and a destiny standpoint, if that makes sense.
Matt, our producer for the summer, Mr. Ben Cohen behind the glass, a USC student in LA. Quentin was just talking about USC. I know you do some, usually we talk about the Pac-12. Give us a little Pac-12 update and what did happen to the USC Trojans.
They lost last night to Washington, was it? But they pitched Caden Aoki, and that was their best pitcher. So it's just one of those, you get the handicap wrong. There was a lot of speculation about who was going to throw, and a lot of people thought that maybe he wouldn't go because they had already won a game, so he could get, I guess, the first matchup in the semifinals. So it was basically a throwaway game, but they ended up starting him. We got a really good number on it. I would have bet it 10 times out of 10, but it just didn't come through. Their bats were pretty bad last night against Washington. And hats off to Fleslin. He pitched a hell of a game.
Yeah, I think we've been on the right side. We just haven't been on the right result.
How was your weekend, Matt? And how was your midweek leading up to today? Like I said in the intro, you was towing up. I mean, a lot of games going on, a lot of ads. It's that time of year. It's Christmas time in college bases as we get ready for next week. I assume the regionals, then the super regionals, correct?
Correct. Yeah, last weekend was good. I think I swept maybe Thursday and then Saturday, 7-0 and 4-0. I can't really remember the game twos, but yeah, this is the time of the year where you kind of have to put the stats to the side and just look at motivation. Conference tournaments are 100% just who's going to be motivated to win. And I said last night or yesterday with the Arkansas LSU game, that was a great baseball game, but it even more so than that, it fell in line with exactly how I thought it would. Both Hagen Smith and Paul Skeens were going to be on pitch counts, which both meant Dave Van Horn and Jay Johnson didn't really care to win the game. They wanted to, but I think for the motivational factor, Dave Van Horn wanted one more season-ending feather in his cap to cap off a great season where we've dealt with so many injuries. He won SEC Coach of the Year, and rightfully so. He wanted to go out there and beat LSU one more time. We lost the series in Baton Rouge earlier in the year, but we still won game one with Paul Skeens. And here we are now. We're 2-2 split on the series. I would think that we coast the rest of the way because we threw Hunter Holland also. He came in for relief after Hagen. So that was our two best starters. And then Will McIntyre went the other day. So really you're probably going to see Ben Bybee tomorrow, which doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence that we're playing to win. But we've done enough now where I think we're number 3 overall in Kendall Rogers' last regional update, the projections. So I think we've done enough, but that was one where I just felt like if you can get LSU at minus 120 or less, that was the play. But I made this a coin flip game. I mean, both teams should have been minus 110, minus 115, whatever you want to call it. When I saw that you could get Arkansas plus 140, I jumped all over it. That was a no-brainer. We should have never been plus 140.
Q, update on your Gators.
We're doing well. We dramatic fashion in Hoover the other night. It was Jeff. It was pretty crazy. Obviously, he's an Arkansas fan. I'm a Florida fan. So Kendall Diggs walks their game off in the 10th, I believe, and then to see BT Riopel. It's funny that the Gators were in a 3-3 matchup. They give up 3 runs, and then the broadcaster's like, "Well, this Florida's got a 3% chance. Nobody's ever come back from a 3-run deficit here in Hoover." And then BT Riopel, big-time Riopel, hits a monstrous 3-run bomb to win the game 7-6. Comes back against Vanderbilt, who they had already swept this year. As we know, it's extremely hard to sweep a team, let alone win 4 in a row. Pitching has been lights out. Hitting has been key. Some freshmen, Luke Heyman, he's swinging the stick. BT hits 2 bombs again last night. It's incredible what he's doing. He's getting hot at the right time. Florida might have 1 through 6 the most dangerous lineup to date right now in terms of rhythm and streakiness. Their pitching is off the charts right now. They're all, whether it's the bullpen coming in lights out. I saw a stat between Cade Fisher, Phil Abner, Neely, and I'm forgetting Ryan Slater. In the last 36 innings, they've got like a 1.5 ERA. So they're pitching incredible. That's the go-to order. I think Florida has a real shot to win it all. And I look at Wake Forest. I think they're a damn good team, but the way Florida's swinging the sticks right now, I think they could beat Wake Forest in a best-of-3 series, if I'm being honest.
Well, it's called timing. Timing's everything in life, and this is the time that you want to get hot, and I'm glad to hear it's going to be exciting, obviously, moving forward to next week. Maddie, Sean Alvarez wants to know, why is your background always faded, but now that since you're in a suite at Circa, it's not?
I mean, if Sean wants to look at a blank wall, I'll stop blurring it at home, Sean. That's an odd request.
He's got to show his stature, his public stature. He's vice president today.
He's Mr. VP himself.
I mean, you want some secrecy in the suite. To echo what Q said back on Florida, because I was the only person screaming last night in the sports book when they hit that home run and took the lead over Vanderbilt. But Florida is legitimately the best team in the SEC. And when you're the best team in the SEC, it usually bodes well for being the best team in the country. So I can't shout it enough. I've finally gotten on board with my own Razorbacks, which Q had to talk me into. I've been on board with this Florida team since our last interview in Las Vegas. I've got Clemson, Wake, Arkansas, Florida. If you get futures on those four, I can all but guarantee that you're going to see all four of them in Omaha. And if you've got half the field in Omaha with a futures ticket in your pocket, you're going to cash. So if you haven't gotten on them, I don't know what you're waiting for. DraftKings has Florida at 10-1 still. I don't know why you would throw a couple $100 on it.
I can't believe they're not moving the line.
Best team in the country right now.
They won't move the line.
The best team in the country right now.
Yeah.
So I'll do an if you were offered the SEC versus the field, would you take the field or the SEC to win the baseball championship?
I would lay minus 300 on the SEC.
Quentin?
I'm in agreement. I don't see anybody beating the SEC. I think when it comes down to it, I mean, you have your one-offs, but the SEC is so dominant this year. I mean, they're going for a potential record of 8 of the top 16 teams are going to be in the SEC. I mean, that's just utter dominance. You know, when 12 teams make it to Hoover, Alabama for the SEC tournament, and you're saying 2/3 of that is going to be hosting, I mean, you have to tip your cap to not only the talent, but the gauntlet of the schedule and those guys. I mean, that's there's boys playing baseball and then there's men. And when you're in SEC, you're playing with the men. And, you know, to credit the SEC, it's felt like a regional vibe. I mean, you've had multiple walk-offs. You've had some chippiness between Florida and Alabama dropping F-bombs at each other. You know, it's been a true regional playoff field baseball. If by all means, for the rest of the games, please tune in because it's a great atmosphere. But I would lay the SEC 8 days out of the week.
So Circa has the yes/no prop of Wake Forest. The no for Wake to win it all is minus 450. So I would say SEC. I mean, Wake is probably the best shot at winning that, like a non-SEC team winning. But I don't know. Wake is good. Their RPI is not very strong, which tells me that they've just beaten up on a bad ACC.
I think it's crazy, Jeff. You still have LSU at plus 450, and you're sitting on Arkansas at 9-1 and Florida 10-1. I think it's absolutely crazy.
It's almost like on Wednesdays when we're breaking down the pre-flop golf tournaments where you got a Rahm, a Scheffler, and a Rory at 6, 7, 8-1, and then you go back a step, and then I'd rather take 3 swings with 16-1s than take the chalk. And as you're saying, the 2 teams you're talking about is playing a lot better than what you can get with the LSU at plus 450.
Yep.
Quentin, you guys got Clemson in tow. They beat up on Boston College today 4-1. As we talked about prior and following you guys and listening, real tough card today. A lot of teams don't need it. Who's motivated, who's not, as Matt was saying earlier. Give us what your eyes are seeing for today and maybe later on this weekend.
So I hit Clemson earlier today. That was an early game. Caden Grice will be pitching the next game for him. So just speculating, I'll probably be leaning them off the jump just at how well he's pitching of late. Wake Forest, a lot of people, they're minus 160 right now. They see an upset. I don't necessarily see them maybe being upset today. I think it could come later on in the tournament. I think they don't want to lose a game. I think they want to find some momentum because they have had some losses where they just look like they're asleep. And I think their head coach Walters kind of knows that, and he wants those guys to kind of stay in rhythm. So I think that's actually a decent bet today. I have them parlay with ECU. I think ECU is in a position where they don't want to be a 2 or a 3 seed. They really want to host as a 1. So they're putting it all out on the line right now. Last I saw, it was in the 4th. They were up 5-3 against Central Florida. Northeastern's a team that's very dangerous. You're catching them at a minus 130 and a must win. I like them. Stanford's going to throw Quinn Matthews today. I've got a future on them in the Pac-12, but I also, feel like I can kind of double down on my money when he's pitching. I think they need to win just to kind of keep that momentum going, because let's face it, Stanford's been a top 8 team all year, but they, could be easily questioned by Matt and I. They haven't played anybody with a top 25 RPI all season, which is a little concerning because you don't know what they're going to be like against top dogs. So they want to stay hot. Matt's going to probably touch on, a couple others. Charlotte, I think Florida Atlantic's another team that has to win. Looking forward, I kind of understand, right now we're both sitting on futures in the SEC. We both have Arkansas and Florida. So selfishly, we hope they make the title game and we sit back and we're taking a bath in Benjamins. So we'll see that. But I think Florida's got a little more momentum than Arkansas. I think Dave Van Horn knows he can kind of pick his guys up. I think Florida, especially with the bullpen issues that they had earlier on in the year, Kevin O'Sullivan wants to keep those guys going, at a good, nice, hot pace. I don't think he wants them to kind of settle down and lose a game. So I could see, and if you could catch it, maybe Alabama beating Vanderbilt. I think they have more to play for. And then seeing a semifinal with Alabama and Florida be another good game. If you keep putting Florida at a minus 115, I'm going to take it all day long. I think that's an auto bet. So just kind of be mindful of that. Clemson, I think, hammer them. I think the way they're playing right now. UNC always has a good showing in Charlotte. So that's a team that I probably, in hindsight, should have thrown a plus 750 future on to win the ACC. So maybe I'll double, try to catch some of the money back there on a game-by-game basis. But Clemson is just playing so hot right now. So ACC is good ball. SEC is good ball. Hopefully Stanford can go now that Oregon State laid an egg. So that's all I got, at least that I could see from this point.
Matt?
Rattled off like 15 games and then said, that's all I got. So first, let me correct this because I misspoke. Wake Forest is number 1 in RPI. It's their strength of schedule that's 42nd in the country. That's why I think they're just beating up on a poor ACC team. But outside of that, I love Northeastern today. They're taking on the number 1 seed in UNC Wilmington, but they're the better team. They're number 1 or number 2 in the conference in every pitching and hitting category. I just think they're going to be a lot more motivated to try to wrap up this automatic qualifier bid. And then, like Hugh had mentioned earlier, Wake Forest is taking on a Notre Dame team that's kind of on the bubble. I feel like if Notre Dame, if you can get this like plus 150 or higher, they may be worth a little play. I do like the over. I think Wake is probably going to have a bullpen game. So there may be a lot of runs scored. And Wake can pretty much hit a total by itself. They did it the other day. I think they cashed an over of 11.5 for me by scoring, I think, 9 or 10 themselves. So Wake's dominant as far as playing against conference tournaments or conference opponents, but I think in the conference tournament, their motivation is just not going to be as strong to win here. I do like USC Upstate to take Campbell to the wire, and if you can get plus 170 like it is on DraftKings right now, I feel like that's worth a little bit of lunch money bet, pizza money, as Q likes to call it. And then last but not least, Charlotte, the 49ers of the East Coast are taking on Louisiana Tech, who just beat them 13-8. I touched on this on Twitter about how they were tied up 8-8 going into the 7th, and the bullpen for Charlotte just gave it away. They lost 13-8. I feel like they're in a revenge spot. They want to win this game. They're the better team statistically, so I ended up taking Charlotte in that one.
So give everyone, Matt, what week looks like. So we wrap up this weekend, and then what is there a reset? Give us what the person that's not as locked in as both of you, what to look forward to for next week.
So conference tournaments wrap up on Sunday, and then you're going to have the selection show Monday morning. I think that airs on ESPN2, and that's going to release, just like the NCAA basketball tournament, it's going to release your seeds, and all 64 teams will be announced. You'll have 16 regional hosts, and then the top 8 seeds are the super regional hosts. So assuming that they win, they'll host the super regional spot. And it's the same way like the bracket of 1 through 16. So it'll flip. So the 1 seed will host the 16, 2 will host 15, on and so forth. People are familiar by now with March Madness. You know, a 1 had never lost to a 16 and on and so forth. So it's a little bit more competitive than that. It won't be as drastic, but it's the same layout. And then that's a double elimination tournament. Then Super Regionals will be a best of 3 series.
So, okay, so the brackets are set. ESPN2 on Monday will get the bracket set up. And then we're off to the races.
On
when
Friday.
do the games start? On Friday.
They'll start that Friday. And I think one of my favorite things is that you'll have regional future bets, so you can bet on the team to win that regional. And we did really well with that with our betting guide, which now is as good time as any to announce. Where I teased it the other day posting the cover, but we're going to put out a regional guide. It's going to be packed with information. It's going to be absolutely free. So y'all stay tuned in to collegebaseballinsiders.com, because I'll be posting that. It's going to have a lot of information. You're going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, but it will be worth it. We're going to handicap the crap out of some regionals and try to come away with some winners.
Can't wait. Q, final thoughts of the weekend leading up to Monday, the brackets, your closing thoughts, as I like to say.
Strap in, because it's going to be wild. It already started, the craziness with the conference tournaments. It only gets crazier from here. We love it. This is like a 30-day Christmas time for us. Yeah, I just had my daughter, so I'm hoping Florida. I had to make normally I go to Omaha. I had to kind of make a compromise. I said this year I would only go if Florida makes it. So I've got a lot hinging on the Gators. So if you're listening, any Gator fans out there, any Gator players, just hook me up and make it so I can get a couple days out there. The guide's going to be incredible. I know we're going to be crushing it as soon as the brackets come out Monday. You know, our heads are going to be right in the books and the computers, and we're going to be banging that out for you guys. And I know Matt was up like 36 or 37 units last year. We hope to, let's do it again, if not increase it. So that's what we're here for. We're here to win money. We put in all the work, so you don't have to. You just have to worry about cash and tickets.
Matt, your closing thoughts will be, if I remember correctly, you got a Friday at the Circa and then Saturday Circa Swim, correct?
That is correct. We're actually going to go bet the horses. Sean wants to go over to Westgate this afternoon. So we'll be over there. I'm going to try to convince John Murray to get some college baseball on. Hopefully he will. He just followed me last night, so that was fun. But I just got a little breaking news. Brady Tigert is going to start tomorrow. And then Dave Van Horn said McIntyre could still throw again. So I don't even know. We'll see. It may be a throwaway game. They may be trying to play and win. Who knows? Never can tell with Dave Van Horn.
Well, you make sure you tell Mr. Murray salute. Tell him the East Coast says hello. Also, I saw earlier, I think it was yesterday, Mike Palm and Derek on VSiN talking about the contest. I know this won't be the last time till you get out to Vegas for the football contests at the Circa or Westgate. I've played in both of them now for years. I don't know what I'm doing yet this year, but busy, fun times in Vegas.
Yeah, shout out to John Murgis. He was the first person to sign up for Circa Million. He got a big number 1 right there with total entries. Survivor is still 0, and I almost signed up last night.
Well, we know at some point you're going to be dipping into the well. It's not, it's just how many entries you have there, Matt.
I really wish they would do a college football contest like William Hill does. That's the most fun contest in my opinion. And Golden Nugget, Tony, he does a combination, so you can pick NFL or college. Yep,
I think it's picks. seven picks, and you can divvy it up however you want. I did that one year, and unfortunately, I was doing the Westgate, the Circa, and the Nugget. I think I had one in each, and so of course, in the Nugget one, since that's the only one with college, I try to do 5 college games in my 2 best
Yes.
NFL games. I'll just be open and honest. I think by week 4 or 5, I was out of bullets, so it didn't matter, you know.
Really? It's a fun contest. I finished tied for 6th. I think I made like, I don't know, $6,800 or something. It's pretty good.
I love the idea. I love the concept. I was on the wrong side every time in the college games. It was a bad year. I finished strong, don't get me wrong, but the thoughts, you know, it's like the circa contest, okay? You absolutely love the circa contest. And then the first week you start 3-2, you're like, okay. And then you come back with a 4-1 and you're like, okay, I got 3 losses. Well, by the time you get up to that 3rd and 4th week, you know, you're trying to win the quarterly prize and you're seeing 15-0, 14-1, 14-0-1, and you're like,
it's disheartening. It's like it's over before it starts.
My best year at Westgate, I was 63.8%, and the winner was like 71%. And it's just had a banner year, and you know, I got a thanks for playing. So, but hey, that's what they're there for.
I signed up for Survivor, I guess it was 2 seasons ago, and I went total nerd. So I compared Westgate's, you know how they'll put out the lines for the whole season? I took all those lines, and then paired it like Derek does with his big calendar of all the games. And I had it mapped out, I mean, perfectly. I was like, I'm going to win Survivor. I picked, I think, Tennessee game 1, or Indianapolis. It was Indianapolis Colts when they got beat by Houston.
At Jacksonville. Oh, Houston, okay.
They were like a 13, or was it Jack? I can't remember. It was somebody from the AFC South. They were like a 13.5-point favorite, and I picked them game 1. And they lost outright. I crumbled that paper up and was like, I'm never doing this contest again. And then 6 months later, I was signing up. Yeah.
That's the glory that week 1. There's 2 or 3 of those 9-point favorites. You're right. Indy was 9-point favorites. I want to say it was at Jacksonville, and that they lost outright.
Probably it.
And it's crazy. But listen, guys, I can't thank you enough. As always, you know, I want you guys to enjoy the weekend. Matt, listen, I'm here on speed dial, all but bail money. So, you know, you got John Mergis out there. You got Mr. Smooth and a few others. Sharapan's in Seattle for the Pittsburgh series with his 2 daughters. So he's out of commission. So, you know, please just, you know, remember that you have a show here next Friday, and you have your partner Quentin here to, you know, get through the bracketology on Monday. So we're expecting a lot from you.
Yes. All right. I will stay hydrated and stay up because it's going to be a long 2 weeks, but it'll be well worth it.
The scroller's been going the whole time. Please, everyone, go follow Matt at Grissom Tweets, at NCAA Insiders. Go follow Quentin at Q Millie, at Notebook Wager 1. And a shout out to the man behind the glass, Mr. Ben Cohen from USC, our producer here for the summer. All right, gentlemen, have a great weekend. To all the people watching and listen, thank you guys so much. Enjoy the week and have some fun, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Jeff.